Chapter 768. Sound wave attack. It must be a sound wave attack. It was just like the murderous song played by Qin Yin with the 7-stringed zither. However, Wuxia's sound wave attack was even more tyrannical. It was invisible and soundless, and it could kill people from 100 meters away. Even Zhou Xian had used his family's secret art, but it was all for naught. He couldn't do anything as the invisible attack of the zither wasn't something that the wind could resist. Who's next? Wuxia's eyes were indistinct, and her pure face didn't have any trace of the mortal world. She didn't look like a demon the arch who killed people like flies, but a fairy that descended to the mortal world. However, Zhou Xian, who was lying on the ground, was obviously proof that she wasn't. Lin Muyu remained silent. Qin Heng was an old fox, but his strength was much more tyrannical than Zhou Xian. If Lin Muyu didn't make a move, Qin Heng probably wouldn't make a move. However, at this moment Wuxia smiled and said, "Qin Heng, you are also someone who has cultivated for a long time. But do you want a few juniors to be cannon fodder while you sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor?" Qin Heng said coldly, "How do you know my name?" Wuxia shook with laughter and sat on the clouds like a mischievous woman. She said, "There are descendants of my demon spirit race everywhere in the celestial pole continent. As long as someone ascends or steps into the god state, how can I not know? The Tianji Empire only has a dozen people in the sacred martial king realm. You are one of them, so I naturally know." Qin Heng's eyes turned cold. "Since that's the case, this old man shall experience demon the arch Wuxia's secret art. Come on, this servant is waiting for you." Wuxia's enchanting voice caused Qin Heng's emotions to sway. Perhaps to the demon the arch, even her voice and demeanor were already a kind of weapon, a weapon that could confuse one's mind. "Uncle Qin, be careful," Xianxia said. "I know." Qin Heng carried the rock-collapsing spear and walked forward step by step on the wild grass. When he saw Zhou Xiaoyu's unconscious body on the ground, he stretched out his leg and gently sent Zhou Xiaoyu back. He said, "Eldest miss, please treat young Master Zhuang's injuries." Xianxia flew up and caught Zhou Xiaoyu. She hurriedly took out some ointment and applied it on him. Zhou Xiaoyu's true injury was his heart meridian, which had been damaged by the sound of the zither. This was not something that could be treated with ointment. An injury to the heart meridian could only be healed by circulating his internal energy. The only thing Xianxia could do was use her king's fighting flame to stabilize the chaotic aura in Zhou Xiaoyu's body so that he would not die in a coma. "Eldest miss, let me do it." Bai Mingjie limped over. He was a god state expert and naturally knew more about the injuries of a god state expert than Xianxia. Xianxia nodded and stood up to look into the distance. She was more concerned about the outcome of the battle between Qin Heng and the demon the arch. Qin Heng took a step forward. Divine power surrounded his feet, and the ground seemed to be resonating with him. Every step he took, rocks rose from the ground and formed armor around his legs. When Qin Heng arrived at the bottom of the hill, his entire body was almost protected by the rock armor. Demon the arch Wuxia smiled and said, "Such a powerful earth elemental divine power. But what can you do?" Qin Heng leaped up and stood proudly in the sky with the rock-collapsing spear in his hand. He said, "We will know once we fight." Before he finished his sentence, Qin Heng's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already above Wuxia's head. The rock-collapsing spear smashed down with the force of a mountain. Wuxia looked up to the sky. There was no fear on her elegant face. Instead, there was a hint of mockery. An invisible wall appeared between the two of them and repelled Qin Heng's attack. At the same time, Wuxia's fingers started to tremble, but there was no sound when she plucked the zither. However, Qin Heng's rock armor showed signs of cracking. Strands of rock shards fell and he was instantly drenched in sweat. Only God knew how much impact Qin Heng had endured in this instant. "Get lost." Wuxia raised her palm and sent Qin Heng flying 100 meters away with the invisible aura. "Kaka." Qin Heng panted heavily and constantly gathered divine power to repair his rock armor. However, the speed of repair was far from enough. Wuxia sneered. Her fingers fluttered like butterflies and invisible zither music swept over. Ping ping ping, Qin Heng could only defend. His rock armor continued to crack as he let out miserable howls. This sacred martial king level expert was ultimately too inferior to the demon emperor. His defeat was already set in stone. After a series of zither music attacks, Nusha's right hand suddenly covered the zither strings. The formless energy from all directions slammed into Qin Heng's body, instantly shattering his stone armor. Qin Heng howled in pain as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was like a kite with a broken string as he fell from the sky. Lin Muyu saw everything clearly. Qin Heng's fall lasted for 3 to 5 seconds. As long as Nushi launched a sound wave attack, Qin Heng's body would be torn into pieces. Obviously Nushi did not kill him. She was being merciful. Could it be that the demon the Arch also had fear and apprehension? Lin Muyu frowned and looked at Si Kongyao beside her. He seemed to understand something. Si Kongyao was also very strong, but Nusha didn't challenge her. The reason was probably because of Si Kongyao's grandfather, Si Kongming. Si Kongming was known as the continent's #1 expert, and his cultivation was at the 94th layer of paradise. This was also Nusha's apprehension. Once she killed Si Kongyao, Si Kongming would be infuriated, and the forest of no return would definitely suffer. Uncle Qin. Shang Qian flew forward and snatched Qin Heng back. The corner of Nusha's mouth curled up again. This smile symbolized massacre. Her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Muyu and said, "You are the one who activated the God Wheel and killed thousands of my demon spirit race, right?" "Yes." Lin Muyu said frankly, "I had no choice but to let the demon spirit attack." "What a good no choice." Nusha sneered and said, "Then I have no choice but to kill you, an outsider." Outsider. Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. This demon the Arch actually knew that she wasn't from the celestial pole continent? Thinking about it carefully, a demon the Arch was equivalent to a god the Arch. This Nusha was a demon the Arch. Could it be that she had already obtained the ability of a divine strategy and could see through people's hearts? You don't have to guess anymore. I can indeed see your inner world. Nusha smiled faintly and said, "You and I were originally unrelated. You pursued your Tao and I protected my homeland. However, you entered the forest of no return this time and killed one of my demon venerables. I have to settle this score. The people from the Empire can't save you and the people from the Divine Realm can't save you either. Come on, do it." Playing. Lin Muyu drew out the ice essence sword. There was no need to be sloppy when it came to making a move. Furthermore, Lin Muyu already had a plan. Even if she couldn't win against the demon the Arch, she had to leave this place alive. The demon the Arch could see through people's hearts, and this was rather terrifying. Lin Muyu quickly recited a few chants of the clear heart technique to calm her mind. After her heart became still like water, the demon the Arch naturally couldn't see through any of her plans and thoughts. When Lin Muyu lifted his right leg, he gently stepped 20 centimeters in the air. It was as though he was stepping on an invisible flight of stairs. However, when he stepped down, a golden radiance emitted from his foot. It was the chi radiance of the divine power that transformed into a domain. He stepped into the sky step by step, and the force field of the domain increased layer by layer. It was obviously much more brilliant than Qin Heng's aura presence. Nusha couldn't help but smile. Interesting. Si Kongyao knitted her brows slightly. Careful. Don't worry. Lin Muyu didn't turn back and walked towards Nusha step by step. He only stopped when they were less than 10 meters apart. At this moment the east was already turning bright. The first ray of dawn landed on his handsome face. The morning ray turned into the power of the stars and rapidly surged into the ice essence sword. Lin Muyu's figure instantly went berserk as he turned into a stream of light and rushed straight towards Nusha. First appearance of the starlight. When the sword landed, a ray of starlight splashed on the invisible wall in front of Nusha. Lin Muyu actually took the initiative to attack when he was fighting against a stronger opponent. This was out of Nusha's expectation. "Back off." Nusha's voice was filled with anger and command. Instantly layers of sound wave attacks engulfed. There were a total of 91 sound waves. However, when the sound waves were in front of Lin Muyu, they came into contact with a golden radiance. A light pillar crystal that was rapidly revolving appeared. It was the Heaven Dragon Crystal. Buzz buzz buzz. The Heaven Dragon Crystal let out a sharp buzzing sound, causing indescribable pain in Lin Muyu's body. However, it was only pain and not injury. Just as he expected, the power of the light element was also formless and could resist Nusha's law of space attack. Not bad. Nusha smiled. Her smile was incomparably beautiful. However, the strings of the pipa moved silently and 3 consecutive sound waves were launched. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. He couldn't just blindly defend. Otherwise he would end up like Qin Hang. Swish. The ice essence sword flew out and engulfed in raging flames. It was an attack of the dragon flame spiral break. At the same time Lin Muyu floated up. Her right fist was filled with the 7 luminaries Xian energy. Facing Nu Sha's beautiful face, she blasted out a 6 luminaries heaven and earth calamity. Nu Sha was taken aback for a moment. She waved her palm and knocked away the ice origin sword with a paw sound. Then she held her pipa horizontally and stroked both of her palms. Suddenly, a powerful impact pounced forward and collided with the 6 luminaries' heavenly tribulation. In the sky, a golden wave of air rushed out and easily uprooted and crushed all the trees in the hill tribe. A group of demons shrieked and retreated. This was no longer a battle that they could participate in. Nu Sha's strength was too strong. She turned her body and used the pipa as a weapon. With a ping sound, the pipa landed on Lin Muyu's chest. She raised her fist and heavily landed on Lin Muyu's wrist. Pop! A crisp and clear hit. The pain was so painful that Lin Muyu almost thought that the bones in her hand were broken. At the moment of life and death, she didn't think twice and took out the spirit beads of law. The spirit beads of law were fleeting, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a huge wheel. It was a divine wheel attack. Nu Sha retreated dozens of meters. She raised both her palms and rays of golden light rose. It was also a divine wheel. However, before the 2 divine wheels completely came into contact, Lin Muyu's figure suddenly disappeared. In the next moment she appeared behind Nu Sha. She raised her fist and used 100% of her strength. The strongest attack. 7 luminaries stars transformation. Boom boom boom. Starlight sprinkled on the ground. Countless stars smashed down like cannonballs. Nu Sha's face was aghast as she condensed a divine wall. She looked at Lin Muyu coldly from afar. Under the chaotic fall of the stars, Nu Sha groaned and blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. However, Lin Muyu was in an even worse state. The backlash of the 7 luminaries' transformation almost devoured her body. You can go and die now. Nu Sha was only injured but not dead. In a flash she appeared in the sky above Lin Muyu. She raised her palm and an invisible impact fell. Peng! Lin Muyu didn't die. The dragon blood shield that she hastily condensed saved her life. Chapter 769. Peng! Dust flew as Lin Muyu's body fell to the bottom of the hill, stirring up a few meters of soil and weeds. The aftermath of Nu Sha's attack only exploded after Lin Muyu landed on the ground. A wave of golden radiance surged in all directions, uprooting the nearby trees and sending gravel flying. It had the power to destroy heaven and earth. It was evident how domineering and forceful this attack was. The aura in his body was chaotic and his blood vessels were surging. Lin Muyu finally couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. He was in a sorry state. He was defeated. And he was defeated without any suspense. How could a mere 22nd heaven grotto heaven realm rival Nu Sha's 91st heaven celestial large cultivation? Moreover, even when Lin Muyu used her strongest killer move, the 7 glorious stars transformation, it only caused Nu Sha to suffer a slight internal injury. Her combat strength did not weaken by much, and the powerful demonic power was still entrenched in the forest of no return. Above the clouds, Nu Sha was still sitting proudly on the dark red cloud. She looked down at Lin Muyu and said from afar, "Although your cultivation foundation is still shallow, you will definitely achieve great things in the future. I advise you to leave the forest of no return immediately and stay away from Si Kongyao, Xianxia and the others. They will bring you misfortune." Lin Muyu stood up shakily and asked, "You won't kill us?" Nu Sha smirked, "Killing you will only bring more hatred. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to see you guys before I change my mind." However, at this moment a stalwart man on the hill said angrily, "Nu Sha, they killed our demon king brethren. Why should we let them go? Doesn't the demon monarch know about the saying of letting the tiger return to the mountain?" "Liexin, I said we should let them go. Why? Do you dare to object?" Nu Sha's eyes surged with killing intent. The demon king named Liexin trembled and quickly took a few steps back. He said respectfully, "I don't dare." Nu Sha looked up at the sky and said, "I'm afraid we have no choice but to let them go." "Why?" See for yourself. In the distance, the roar of a giant dragon came from the sky above the forest. Black shadows flew over from the light of dawn. They were dragon knights. It was a group of dragon riders with the Tianji Empire's emblem on their necks. It was the Tianji Dragon Riders. Our dragon knight is here. Xianxia was overjoyed. She flew forward to help Lin Mu up. Dragons might spread out in the surroundings, and invisible auras surrounded and protected each other. Between every 2 dragon knights, there was a kind of power that kept them together. 20 dragon knights descended from the sky, forming an impenetrable wall that protected Xianxia, Zhuang Xiaoyu and the others. The dragon knights were clad in exquisite armor, and their faces were filled with the desire to fight. At the very front, a dragon rider riding a black dragon took off his helmet, revealing a determined middle-aged face. He smiled at Xianxia and said, "Yao, you really are here." Xianxia was pleasantly surprised. "Uncle Lin Tonggan, you're here? What else? I can't just let you do whatever you want, right?" Lin Tongtian had a doting look on his face. "Not long after you left Tianji City, Master asked me to come and protect you. Looks like I'm really late." Lin Tongtian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He suddenly turned to look at the people from the Demon Spirit clan. He was even fearless when he met the gaze of the Demon Emperor Nushi. As one of the 11 martial sage kings of the Tianji Empire, Lin Tongtian was one of the strongest people in the Tianji Dragon Riders. Furthermore, he had a special identity as one of the 3 disciples that Xikong Ming was most proud of. He was well versed in the ice laws and was highly regarded by the Tianji Empire and the Tianji sect. Furthermore, he was a calm person and was known as a famous general of the Tianji Empire. "Oh, so you're a dragon knight?" Nushi smiled. "I knew it. The other human armies don't have such a grand display." Lin Tongtian, have you forgotten about the alliance that the Tianji Empire and the Demon Spirit clan of the Forest of No Return made over 100 years ago? Now that you've brought your army into the Forest of No Return, can I take it as a provocation? Lin Tongtian smiled and said respectfully, "So it's the Demon Emperor Nushi, Your Majesty. I have no intention of overstepping my authority. It's just that these insensible youngsters have entered the Forest of No Return by mistake. I believe they must have had some conflict with the Demon Spirit clan. Therefore, I hope that Your Majesty will forgive them and allow me to bring them out of the Forest of No Return." Nushi remained silent. She didn't want to blow things up. After all, it wasn't a wise decision to start a war with the entire Tianji Dragon Riders. However, the Demon King Li Exen beside Nushi was furious. He growled, "Lin Tong, do you think the Forest of No Return is a place where you can come and go as you please? Your juniors killed a demon king of my clan and you want to leave just like that? What do you want then?" Lin Tongtian sneered. "What do you want? Let's leave one of them as our sacrifice." The demon king's gaze was aggressive. "Otherwise we can only start a war. The Demon Spirit clan is never afraid of war." Lin Tongtian remained silent. Zhuang Xiaoyu, who had already woken up, looked around and said, "If we really start a war, I'm afraid that a mere 20 dragon riders won't be a match for the entire Demon Spirit clan. Do we really want to leave one of them as a sacrifice?" As he spoke, Zhuang Xiaoyu's gaze landed on Lu Bai and Shi Tianming. These 2 were the most suitable candidates. Lu Bai felt goosebumps all over his body. He said, "Young Master Zhuang, I'm not useless. I can observe the stars, read people's words, and am knowledgeable. I'm a talent." Shi Tianming was speechless. He didn't know what Lu Bai knew. It seemed like he had no choice but to leave him alive. Who would have thought that Lin Tongtian would suddenly pull out a spear from the pouch on the side of the dragon's neck? It was a weapon that was enshrouded in icy aura. It was the ice-congealing spear, a weapon that Xikong Ming had bestowed upon him. It was also a weapon that had accompanied Lin Tongtian for many years. Lin Tongtian's face was filled with arrogance. He smiled and said, "They are all from the Tianji Empire. If you want to use them as a sacrifice, you'll have to ask this spear of mine first." "How dare you?" The Demon King Li Exen roared and began to transform into a demon. His arms were trembling on the ground and his arms were surrounded by a white airflow. His skin cracked open inch by inch, revealing the scales that belonged to a demon. 3 sharp horns protruded from his head, and his eyes instantly turned fiery red. With a ferocious smile he said, "Just in time. I really want to see how powerful Lin Tongtian, the leader of the 3 dragon riders of the Tianji Empire, is. The air currents swirled around the hill. The Demon King had already turned into a sharp arrow and shot towards the sky. He opened his arms wide and his sharp claws were filled with divine power. Then he attacked Lin Tongtian from midair. Just in time. Lin Tongtian laughed heartily. The ice-congealing spear in his hand spun and shot out. Wisps of icy chi swirled around the spear and with an unstoppable force, it headed straight for the Demon King's sharp claws. Clang. The sound of metal clashing could be heard. Lin Tongtian repelled the Demon King's sharp claws with a single strike. His palm flew up and a frosty palm print landed on the Demon King's chest at lightning speed. Peng. With a single palm strike, it actually caused snow to fall in the sky. Large snowflakes fell from the sky above the hill and it was a spectacular sight. Ugh! The Demon King spat out a mouthful of blood and fell onto the hill. He held onto his chest which was already covered with a layer of frost. Demon Archnushi's eyes turned cold and said, "Stop embarrassing yourself. Immediately circulate your energy to dispel the icy aura. Otherwise you won't be able to protect your heart meridian." "As your majesty." "Aye, that's enough." Nushi lifted her head to look at Lin Tongtian and smiled. "Lord Dragon Rider General is really powerful. Looking at your stance you want to kill my men in front of me, right?" Lin Tongtian smiled respectfully and said, "How would I dare? It's just that your subordinates are too overbearing." At this moment, a young dragon rider not far away from Lin Tongtian unsheathed his dragon sword and said, "Lord Dragon Rider General, what's there to talk about with these demons? Since we are already here, let's follow the laws of the Empire. Slaying demons is the innate mission of the Tianji Dragon Riders. Even the Demon King was injured by you. We don't have to fear them at all." This young dragon rider was of the Sage Heaven realm. According to the classification of the Utmost Heaven's mainland, he was a low-level martial sage martial venerate warrior. He was basically the lowest-level dragon rider. His cultivation was still shallow and therefore he couldn't feel the demon the Archnushi's powerful energy. "Are you courting death?" Nushi suddenly laughed. "Demon, you still want to be so arrogant?" The young dragon rider shouted in a low voice. His body was surrounded by King's battle flames and the giant dragon he was riding on roared continuously. "You're courting death yourself." Nushi's expression was slightly ferocious as she closed her red lips. Suddenly, a formless energy gathered from all directions and struck the young dragon rider. Pht! He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately after, blood flowed from his nostrils, eyes, and ears. In the blink of an eye, he fell off the dragon's back and died. He bled to death from his 7 orifices. What happened? The few dragon riders at the side were filled with grief and anger. Lin Muyu, who was on the ground, was also shocked. At that moment, his spiritual pulse technique had already captured Nushi's energy. That was a formless and soundless spatial energy fluctuation. It was truly a killing technique. No one would have thought that Nushi's cultivation would be so high. This attack could be said to have unleashed the destructive power of the spatial laws to the extreme. The high-frequency spatial fluctuation itself was a killing weapon. "Nushi." Lin Tongtian gritted his teeth. Nushi was still hugging her musical instrument. With an apologetic look on her face, she smiled and said, "Lord Dragon Rider, it was your subordinate who was aggressive first. You can't blame me for this. Please don't blame me. After all, we only have a few 100,000 demonic spirits in this small forest of no return. How can we go against the millions of soldiers of the Tianji Empire?" A few 100,000. Lin Tongtian was secretly shocked. During the war in the Forest of No Return a few 100 years ago, the number of demonic spirits had already been reduced to a few thousand. He did not expect that in just a few 100 years, their cultivation had increased to a few 100,000. Nushi's words were not to show weakness. Instead, she was retreating in order to advance. She was warning Lin Tongtian to think twice before acting. If he really started a war, Lin Tongtian himself would not be able to escape. If that's the case, Lin Tongtian stabbed the ice-freezing spear into the pouch beside the dragon's neck and said, "Then we shall meet again. We shall meet again." Nushi nodded and looked in the direction of Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, "Your Highness, we shall meet again." Chapter 770. The bright sunlight shone on the forest floor as the group returned along the path they came from. A few dragon knights circled in the air to protect them. Zhuang Xiaoyu, Baiming and Qin Heng were heavily injured and weakly rode on horseback. Young hero, why did that female assassin call you your highness? Si Kongyao finally couldn't help but ask after holding it in for a long time. I don't know either. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, perhaps she wasn't calling me but Baiming Jia. Why me? Baiming Jia was stunned. She's the demon emperor and can make predictions. Perhaps the little prince will really ascend to the throne in the future. He said these treasonous words with a straight face. Baiming Jia's face was very calm, but he couldn't help but be ecstatic. Who didn't want to ascend to the throne? After all, the difference between a prince and an emperor was like heaven and earth. In the air, the giant dragon's wings flapped slowly. Lin Tongtian looked at Si Kongyao with gentle eyes and said, Yao, are you really not going to ride on the giant dragon and leave the forest of no return? Si Kongyao said, no, big brother Xiaoyu and the little prince are both heavily injured and can't stand the cold air. That's fine. Lin Tongtian nodded and revealed a reproachful expression. Yao, you are really too insensible. You actually went to the forest of no return behind Master's back. If I knew you were going to the forest of no return, I'm afraid Master wouldn't have let you come. What kind of place is the forest of no return? It's a place where the demon emperor resides. That female assassin is very powerful, and none of the great saint martial gods of the empire are her match. Hey guys. Si Kongyao stuck out her tongue and smiled. Uncle Lin Tongtian, we know our mistake. Aren't we following you back now? But our original plan was to travel to the Celestial Empire, so can we go east and directly to the territory of the Celestial Empire through the Forest of No Return? This, Lin Tongtian sighed and said, that's possible, but we still have to be extra careful. The Demon Emperor doesn't have the intention to kill us, but the Demon Kings and Demon Venerables under her can't wait to tear us into pieces. Anyway, we need to speed up our journey and escort you into the territory of the Celestial Empire within 3 days. After that, I'll go back to report on my mission. Yes, thank you, Uncle Lin Tongtian. You? Lin Tongtian smiled faintly. He had watched Si Kongyao grow up and was like an elder to him. There was no need to explain such feelings. Riding on the giant dragon, Lin Tongtian's gaze swept across Zhuang Xiaoyu, Shi Tianming, Lin Muyu and the rest. Zhuang Xiaoyu was arrogant and had a high cultivation level. He was worthy to be Si Kongyao's friend, but it was hard to say for Shi Tianming. As for that unknown wanderer, Lin Tongtian actually couldn't see through his cultivation level. Ordinary cultivators would intentionally or unintentionally reveal their cultivation level. Take Zhuang Xiaoyu for example. Although he was severely injured, the aura in his body was still circulating. When he circulated his energy to heal his injuries, a faint glow of divine power would appear on the surface of his body. Lin Tongtian could easily see that Zhuang Xiaoyu had 29 paradise cultivation levels, but he couldn't see through Lin Muyu. This young man was like a bottomless abyss. He was like an ancient well with no ripples. In fact, it was impossible to tell whether he had entered the paradise or not. After nightfall, the mountain breeze blew. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, Xianxia, and the rest were barbecuing food around the bonfire. The 19 dragon riders were perched on the surrounding hills, protecting the group of royal family members in the valley. Lin Tongtian was silent. He hugged the ice-freezing spear and lay on the neck of the giant dragon. He looked into the distance and no one knew what he was thinking about. After eating, Lin Muyu returned to his tent alone. His brows were tightly furrowed. He was thinking about something different again. The Tianji Empire was gathering troops, preparing provisions and preparing for war. Judging from the situation, they needed a large number of warships to advance westward to attack the Qin Empire. Including the time needed to forge warships, prepare provisions and prepare weapons, it would take at least another half a year. This also meant that the shattered tripod world still had half a year to prepare for war. What Lin Muyu needed to do was to extend this time as much as possible. Time was very important to both sides, but the Qin Empire obviously needed it more. Without enough time, there would not be enough warships and magic crystal cannons. Moreover, Qin Xiling was taking the time to improve the magic crystal cannons. If they wanted to win the next war, they still needed this kind of powerful weapon. Lying in the tent, he recalled everything that had happened during the day. Suddenly Lin Muyu sat up. He was confused. Just what kind of power did the Nusslayer use to launch a silent and invisible attack to kill a powerful dragon knight from a distance? The power of the law of space was indeed magical. If she could master and control it, wouldn't it be like adding wings to a tiger? Thinking of this, he opened his palm and a small spiritual pearl of law appeared. It was a white spiritual pearl of law of space. With a shake of his palm, the spiritual pearl of law seeped into his palm. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. While thinking about how Nusslayer used her strength to launch the sound wave attack during the day, he gently shook his palm and imitated Nusslayer's route. However, although his every shake caused the pulse of the air, it was far from Nusslayer's lethality. Moreover, there was a faint sound. His realm was much lower. A silent sound. What kind of power was that? Lin Muyu was puzzled. Although his comprehension was outstanding, this was a realm that he had never touched. He had the strongest spiritual pearl of law of space in the world, but he could not control the strongest power of the law of space. He could not accept such a regret. He must cultivate to the same level as Nusslayer. After an unknown period of time, a dragon rider's voice suddenly came from the hillside outside. Who is it? Come out. Immediately after the sound of metal colliding, dragon roars could be heard. There seemed to be a battle. Lin Muyu opened the tent and flew out. He raised his hand and pulled out the ice origin sword. Looking at the hillside, he realized that a dragon rider was already riding on the back of a dragon. The dragon rider shouted, "Lord Lin Tong, there was someone sneaking around just now. He has already escaped. Should we chase after him? Is it a demonic spirit?" Lin Tongtian was still hugging the ice-freezing spear and leaning on the black dragon's neck. No, he doesn't have a strong demonic power. He's a human. His cultivation has already reached Saint Martial Venerable. Saint Martial Venerable. Lin Tongtian frowned and said, "Take the first team of 10 people and chase after him. Be careful." Yes. The huge dragons flapped their wings and flew up. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the night sky. What happened? Si Kongyao rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked as she came out of the tent. "It seems like a thief," Xianxia said. "Thief?" Si Kongyao couldn't help but laugh. "Trying to steal from the Tianji dragon riders? Isn't that asking for death? Furthermore, this is the forest of no return. How could there be a thief? It must be someone with bad intentions." At this moment, Shuang Xiaoyu, Shi Tianming and the others were also woken up. They each walked out of their tents to the campfire outside. Lin Tongtian held the ice-freezing spear and stood up from the huge dragon's side. He said respectfully, "Miss Yao, Miss Shangqian, you're both awake?" "Yes." "What's going on?" "I don't know. Anyone who can appear in the forest of no return must not be simple." Lin Tongtian frowned and said, "I'm afraid this is a ploy to lure us away. We'll be safe here. Don't worry. With the Tianji dragon riders here, who would dare to do anything?" Shangqian bowed and said, "Thank you, Lord Lin Tonglen." "You're welcome." Mississippi Lin Tongtian was the leader of the 3 dragon riders, and the most powerful warrior in the entire Tianji dragon cavalry except for Baiming Huan, the commander and marshal of the empire. His status was no less honorable than that of the prime minister, which was why even Shangqian, Zhuang Xiaoyu and the others had to be respectful to him. At this moment, a hoarse and miserable howl came from the tent behind him. The scream was very shrill in the middle of the night. "Who is it?" Si Kongyao looked around and said, "Why hasn't Baiming Jie come out?" "Oh no." Lin Muyu clenched her teeth. Through the spirit pulse spell, she could sense a very powerful divine power fluctuation from the tent behind them. Someone must be here and not a weak one at that. Everyone hurried over. When they opened Baiming Jie's tent, they were all scared out of their wits. Baiming Jie was lying quietly in the tent with an arrow in his chest. Blood was still flowing. He was dead. The son of the Luo king had been assassinated. Moreover, there was a bloody hole in the middle of Baiming Jie's eyebrows, as if someone had taken something out of his head. And the item was Baiming Jie's heavenly Dao lattice. So cruel. Si Kongyao stood there in a daze. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, looked cautiously at the empty space at the side. There were still energy ripples from the space shuttling. Obviously, the assassin had just used his ability to break through the void and left not long ago. In the spirit pulse technique, a strong aura appeared 3 miles away and was quickly leaving. It must be him. "You guys stay here." Lin Tongtian took a deep breath and held the ice coagulation spear. "I'll go after this person. Young hero, young master Xiaoyu, you two guard the 2 ladies." Don't leave and fall into the trap of luring us away. I'll be back soon. Yes. When Lin Muyu and Zhuang Xiaoyu nodded in agreement, Lin Tongtian had already disappeared. His speed of shattering the void was extremely fast and silent. Si Kongyao frowned slightly. She could not bear to look at Bai Mingjie's corpse. He was the son of the Luo king, the young prince of the empire, and the most powerful person in the younger generation of the royal family. Now that he had died in the forest of no return, it was truly regrettable. What do we do now? Si Kongyao asked. Wait. Lin Muyu's voice was very calm. Whoosh. A few miles away, Lin Tongtian appeared in the air with the ice coagulation spear. With a roar, a black dragon appeared from the alternate dimension. He rode on the dragon and flew forward. It seemed like the assassin was waiting for him there. Under the moonlight, the assassin held a fiery red longsword and wore a black cloak. Even his face was covered. Are you the one who killed Bai Mingjie? Lin Tongtian asked. That's right. He smiled casually. An arrow through the heart. The top rookie of the Tianji Empire's royal family is really a piece of trash. Courting death. Lin Tongtian brandished his spear and charged forward. He had used 90% of his power in the first strike. Bam! Flames and frost collided, sparks flying everywhere. The assassin was still standing steadily in the air. He held a long sword in his hand, and at the tip of the blade, a small nomological spirit bead was dancing. Lin Tongtian was horrified. His heart was filled with despair. At the same time, there was a rustling sound in the surrounding forest. One by one, black figures appeared. There was no lack of martial venerables among them. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they drew their bows and aimed their arrows at Lin Tongtian, the top dragon rider of the Tianji Empire. Chapter 771. Ah! A sorrowful cry reverberated through the night. This is bad. Lin Muyu's expression changed under the illumination of the bonfire. What's wrong? Si Kongyao asked. Sense Lin Tongtian's aura. Ah! Si Kongyao calmed herself down and released her Saint Martial Venerable Cultivation base's spiritual sense. She found several auras at the limits of her spiritual sense's perception. One of the auras was extremely familiar. It was Lin Tongtian. However, his aura had become extremely weak. It was obvious that Lin Tongtian's current situation wasn't good. A dragon rider's expression changed. Brat, what do you mean? Do you think that Lord Dragon Rider Lin Tongtian is no match for a mere assassin? Do you think that Lin Tongtian is invincible? Lin Muyu asked in return. The dragon rider was instantly speechless. Xianxia was a little flustered. Then what do we do now? What else can we do? Go and find Lin Tongtian. Lin Muyu pointed into the distance and said, He's in that direction. If we act quickly, we might be able to save his life. The faces of the 9 dragon knights who remained in the camp turned pale. Everyone knew about Lin Tongtian's level of cultivation. There were not many people in the entire Tianji Empire who could be a match for him. What kind of person could put Lin Tongtian in danger? Quick, don't leave anyone in the campsite. Just in case they send people to attack directly. Lin Muyu grabbed Lu Bai's arm and brought him into the air. Meanwhile, Si Kongyao, Qin Hang and the others didn't have time to worry about the injured and brought Zhuang Xiaoyu and the others over as well. The dragon riders all mounted their giant dragons, spreading their wings and following closely behind. The moonlight was tranquil, and the open ground within the forest was a sea of blood. 2 incomplete corpses lay on the desolate grassland. Their bodies seemed to have been chopped into 4 or 5 pieces. Fresh blood and blood-red internal organs were scattered all over the ground. A thick smell of blood filled the surroundings, causing Lu Bai to hurriedly cover his mouth and nose. He almost vomited. Has Lord Lin Tongtian died in battle? Zhuang Xiaoyu was shocked. Lin Muyu's eyes swept across the field as she said, No, the clothes on these corpses don't belong to Lin Tongtian, but he's injured. Why are you so sure? Zhuang Xiaoyu was stunned. Lin Muyu didn't say much to him. Instead, she walked towards a nearby boulder and said, Lord Dragon Rider, come out. They've left. It's just us. Ah. A stifled howl could be heard from behind the rock. It was Lin Tongtian's voice. You guys can walk over on your own, I can't walk anymore. Uncle Lin. Si Kongyao hurriedly rushed over, and she was immediately frightened to the point that her beautiful face paled. She saw the Tianji Empire's #1 dragon rider sitting miserably on a rock. His entire left arm had been chopped off and the cut was still flowing with blood. In addition, the armor on his body was full of holes, and there were 2 arrows embedded in his chest. There was also a wound on his leg that had been pierced by a spear. "Who is it?" Xianxia asked in a trembling voice as tears flowed down her face. Lin Tongtian shook his head. "I don't know yet. Yao, hurry up and use the golden wound ointment to stop the bleeding. My sea of energy is starting to leak out of my cultivation. If we don't stop it now, I'm afraid." Xianxia always had the golden wound ointment on her. She knelt beside Lin Tongtian and applied the ointment and bandaged his wound. However, the wound on Lin Tongtian's abdomen was extremely frightening. Wisps of golden light were leaking out of his sea of energy. The wound was small, but it was continuously leaking out of Lin Tongtian's cultivation. If she didn't stop it now, Lin Tongtian would probably become a cripple in 6 hours. What should we do? What should we do? Xianxian was at a loss. Xianxia, on the other hand, was much calmer. Her pretty face was filled with sadness and anger. She opened her palms slightly and the power of the ice mystic formula circulated, quickly sealing the wound on Lin Tongtian's sea of energy. Although it couldn't heal him completely, it could at least stop the leakage of divine power. This way, Lin Tongtian could rely on his own cultivation to stop the leakage of divine power. Lin Muyu stood quietly at the side and didn't take the initiative to help. This wasn't because he was selfish, but because there were things that he shouldn't do. He had never been a good person. The Tianji Empire would become the enemy of Great Qin sooner or later, and Lin Tongtian's cultivation was destined to be one of the generals of the Tianji Empire. If he healed Lin Tongtian now and Lin Tongtian's hands were stained with the blood of the soldiers of the Qin Empire in the future, he could only blame it on Lin Muyu. His bottom line was not to kill Lin Tongtian here. If he wanted to kill him, he had to do it on the battlefield. The 9 dragon knights rode on their giant dragons and circled the area, looking for the assailants. However, they couldn't find them. Only heaven knew who the assailants were and where they went. "Don't let them go too far." Lin Tongtian opened his eyes and said weakly, "That group of people is still around. Their target is us. Don't go too far." "Yes, Lord." A dragon knight rode on a giant dragon and bowed respectfully. Xianxia said softly, "Uncle Lin, could it be that you can't even tell who the opponent is? With your cultivation, how many people can seriously injure you?" Lin Tongtian laughed bitterly. "They were all masked, so I can only judge based on their strength. The person who chopped off my arm is a Saint Martial King. He has the cultivation of the 52nd Grotto Heaven stage, and his godhead is actually a 3rd-grade caste Immortal godhead. After he summoned the Spirit Pearl of Law, the attack he launched was not something I could defend against." Xianxia was stunned. Caste Immortal godhead. Caste Immortal godhead. There were not many caste Immortal godheads in the Heavenly Pole continent. The identity of the person who came seemed to be obvious. There were many Saint Martial Kings in the Wolf Valley, and their godheads were the most secretive. The 52nd Grotto Heaven stage and caste Immortal godhead could only be a cultivator in the Wolf Valley. However, the Wolf Valley had always stood aloof from worldly affairs. Why would they come to the Forest of No Return, kill Baiming Jia, injure Lin Tongtian, and publicly make an enemy of the Tianji Empire? Xianxia could not understand. At this moment, Lin Muyu asked, "Does the person with the caste Immortal godhead cultivate the law of fire?" "Yes, young hero, how do you know?" Lin Tongtian was stunned. Lin Muyu pointed to the west and said, "About 7 miles away in that direction, there is an extremely strong law of fire rippling. If I'm not wrong, it should be this person." 7 miles away. Lin Tongtian shuddered. "Oh no." "What's wrong, Lord?" a dragon knight asked. 7 miles to the west is where Fan Rui and the other dragon knights are patrolling. They are going for Fan Rui and the others." Lin Tongtian's expression changed drastically. He said, "Quick, release the wolf falcons and order Fan Rui and the others to gather here immediately. Only when we are together will we have the strength to fight against this group of foreign invaders. Quick." "Lord." The wolf falcons soared into the sky, but no one knew if they were still useful. Lin Muyu remained silent. He was the only one here who had cultivated the Spirit Pulse technique, and he was also the one with the best observation skills. From the Spirit Pulse technique, he could sense that the powers of a few dragon knights had disappeared. Even the aura of their giant dragons had disappeared. Fan Rui and the other dragon knights were definitely not in a good state. What should we do now? Shi Tianming was already trembling. In his opinion, dragon knights were the most powerful beings. Many dragon knights were gods who rode on giant dragons. But from the looks of it, these gods had actually become the targets of others. They did not even have the strength to resist. What a tragic scene it was. Let's wait for daybreak. Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and said, let's wait until daybreak. Otherwise we will only be at a disadvantage when they are in the dark and we are in the light. Lini, start a fire here. We will protect Lord Lin Tongtian until daybreak. Alright. Lu Bai did not dare to go too far. He could only pick up some withered trees that had not sprouted in spring and burn them. Not long after, a bonfire rose up and illuminated the surroundings. It also brought a trace of warmth to the heavily injured Lin Tongtian. Lin Muyu held his long sword and paced around the grassland where the battle had just taken place. The ground was crisscrossed with traces of battle. He could not understand. Based on the abilities of this group of ambushers, they could have chopped off one of Lin Tongtian's arms. Why did they not kill him? Lin Tongtian had already lost his ability to fight. It was just a matter of finishing him off. It was too simple. Suddenly, something in the grass was reflecting a golden light. Lin Muyu bent down to pick it up. He discovered that it was a golden badge the size of a palm. There was a flame pattern on it and it was stained with blood and mud. After wiping it clean, he realized that the workmanship was very exquisite. He walked back and said, "What is this? Do you recognize it?" Si Kongyao took the badge. Her pretty face was instantly covered with a layer of frost. She said with a murderous look, "It's the Thunderblaze sect. It's actually the heaven-damned Thunderblaze sect. Is the Blackstone Empire openly declaring war on the Tianji Empire?" "What is the Thunderblaze sect?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhuang Xiaoyu, who was at the side, explained, "Young hero, you may not know this, but the Thunderblaze sect is one of the 3 sacred sects of the mainland. It is also the national sect of the Blackstone Empire. If this group of people really came from the Thunderblaze sect, then it makes sense." "What do you mean?" Lin Muyu continued to ask. Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled faintly. "The leader of the Thunderblaze sect, Longxi, is a peerless genius. He stepped into the divine state at the age of 27, so he always looks like he is in his 20s. He is very young and he also has the forged deity lattice. He cultivates in the law of ice and fire." "But that's not right. The person who injured Uncle Lin was in the 52nd heaven realm, and Longxi had already reached the 92nd heaven realm a few hundred years ago. That's not right." Si Kongyao nodded and pondered for a while. She said, "Could it be that he deliberately lowered his cultivation to create the illusion that the Wolf Valley attacked us, so as to cause a war between the Tianji Empire and the Wolf Valley? It's hard to say." Zhuang Xiaoyu said, "The Blackstone Empire has always been the weaker of the 3 empires. If we start a war with the Wolf Valley, they will be happy to see it." Lin Tongtian, who was lying on the ground, said, "Stop making wild guesses. Now, what we need to think about is how to get out of here alive." In the distance, the wind was whistling. Lord Dragon Knight Fan Rui and the others are back. Chapter 772. Only 3 people returned. The 3 dragon knights, including Fan Rui, stumbled down from the sky and landed on the ground. One of them even fell directly to the ground with his dragon. There was a huge wound on the dragon's wing, and the entire wing seemed to have been chopped off by a sword. Fan Rui was also heavily injured. His face was covered in blood and there were several sword wounds on his legs and shoulders. There was even an arrow stuck in his back, almost piercing through his heart. "Help me up," Lin Tongtian said shakily. Si Kongyao hurriedly helped Lin Tongtian up. "Sir." Fan Rui flipped down from the dragon's back. His face was full of depression and his eyes were bloodshot. He knelt on one knee and refused to get up. "I have failed you, sir. We were ambushed. The attackers were very strong. We suffered heavy losses. 7 of our dragon riders died in battle. The 3 of us were lucky enough to escape and return to sea, sir." As he spoke, Fan Rui raised his head and saw that one of Lin Tongtian's arms was missing. He shuddered. "Sir, your arm." Lin Tongtian felt an inexplicable chill in his heart. "Don't blame yourself. They ambushed me first and then went to ambush you. All the blame is on me. Lin Tongtian, thought too highly of myself and underestimated the enemy. As a result, everyone was harmed. But it's not Sir's fault. Fan Rui held onto a broken dragon sword. His face was ashen. Our brothers who died in battle will not blame anyone. They were protecting our territory and sacrificed their lives for our country. Sir, don't blame yourself. Lin Tongtian took a deep breath. They killed the dragon riders. Did they take the dragon away? Dragons were one of the most conspicuous treasures in the celestial pole continent. They had a long lifespan and their mating and childbirth periods were also very long. Their birth rate was also very low. As a result, there were only about 1,000 dragon riders in the celestial pole continent. Every dragon cost a lot. The gold coins needed to nurture a dragon rider army was definitely equivalent to the taxes of a province. They didn't, Fan Rui said. Those bastards killed the dragon and took the dragon crystal. They only wanted to kill, not to take the dragon. Those bastards. Lin Tongtian took a deep breath. How many wolf falcons do we have left? 2. Send one to Tianji City to ask for help. Yes. Lin Muyu said. I'm afraid the wolf falcon might not be able to reach Tianji City, right? I know, but this is also a chance for us. Lin Tongtian glanced at Lin Muyu and said, Young hero, you don't seem to be afraid at all? What's the point of being afraid? Lin Muyu crossed her arms and spoke in a carefree manner. Yes, if fear worked, then everyone would be saved. Si Kongyao supported Lin Tongtian and asked, Uncle Lin, what should we do now? Travel during the day and gather together to rest at night. Do not separate. Lin Tongtian sighed. We'll be safe once we enter the Celestial Empire's official road. There are troops from the Celestial Empire around the official road. As long as we ask for their help, they will definitely help us. As that's the only way. Lin Muyu didn't mind. He just wanted to see what the Celestial Empire's troops were like. The Celestial Empire occupied 40% of the entire Celestial Pole continent. They would be one of the strongest enemies in the future. They had to know their enemies well. After daybreak, everyone cooked and ate. Then they continued their journey. This time they didn't have to worry about any injuries. They split up, either flying or riding dragons. They tried their best to fly out of the forest of no return before nightfall and escape from this land cursed by death. The wind whistled. Lin Muyu held Lu Bai's arm with one hand and carried him in the front. Behind them were 12 giant dragons flying slowly. Lin Tongtian's giant dragon had been killed in order to protect him. It was beheaded and abandoned in the wilderness. Lin Tongtian didn't even allow his subordinates to retrieve the dragon crystal. Although the dragon crystal was the most precious part of a giant dragon, Lin Tongtian couldn't bear to do so. After all, it was a mount that had accompanied him for many years. After flying for less than 2 hours, a faint aura came from the clouds in front of them. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse detection technique detected a large number of powerful auras. She couldn't help but frown and said, Not good. There's something in the sky in front of us. There's something in the sky? Dragon Knight Fan Rui was stunned. What could it be? Lin Tongtian squinted his eyes and said loudly, Land. We can't fly anymore. It's the sting bees. That's right. Although the sting bees were only 6th-tier demon spirits, there was a large number of them. Once they were surrounded by thousands of sting bees, even the Saint Martial God might not be able to escape safely. Zhuang Xiaoyu waved his purple gold fan and said, Land. The giant dragons swooped down. When everyone landed, they looked up and saw a dense swarm of sting bees covering the sky. There were at least tens of thousands of them. It turned out that Monster Emperor Nushi wasn't lying when she said there were hundreds of thousands of demon spirits in the Forest of No Return. Lin Tongtian's scalp went numb. He said, How terrifying. If they are given another 1,000 years, all these sting bees will become Demon King Bee Emperors. I'm afraid this celestial pole continent will no longer be the territory of humans. They don't seem to want to attack us. Lin Mu saw some clues. Xianxia nodded. Yes, they seem to want to force us to the ground. Si Kongyao and Zhuang Xiaoyu frowned. Landing on the ground meant that their speed would be greatly reduced. Anyway, they wouldn't be able to leave the Forest of No Return today. At night, those killers might come again, right? At this thought, everyone's hearts were filled with despair. After traveling 100 miles in a day, night fell as scheduled. Lin Tongtian chose a valley to set up camp. A few dragon knights were stationed outside. After killing a rocky goat, they skinned it and removed its innards. Lu Bai placed it on a spear and roasted it. However, everyone was so suffocated by the feeling of death that they couldn't even detect the aroma of meat. After a quick meal, they all fell asleep around the campfire. Lin Muyu lay on Lu Bai's luggage and closed her eyes. However, she couldn't fall asleep no matter what. Ripples came from the spiritual pulse technique again. A group of auras were hiding about 5 miles away, not too far away, not too near, waiting for the best opportunity to strike. However, they still didn't make a move until dawn. Even when Xianxia helped Qin Heng to relieve himself and left the valley, they still didn't make a move. Could it be that Xianxia and Qin Heng weren't important enough for them to make a move? Lin Muyu frowned. The sun was about to rise. She might as well sleep for a while. Not long after, a rustling sound came from beside her. It was Si Kongyao who had woken up. She took a water bag and said softly, "I'll go get some water to wash Uncle Lin Tongtian's wounds. Otherwise they might ulcerate." Lin Tongtian said, "Okay, be careful. Get close to him and don't go too far." "I know. Don't worry, I'm not a lamb waiting to be slaughtered." Si Kongyao laughed softly. She was still very confident in her own strength. After Si Kongyao got up, Lin Muyu couldn't sleep again. She flipped over and grabbed the ice origin sword. She patted Lu Bai's shoulder and said, "I'm going to relieve myself. You sleep well." Lu Bai was still sleepy. "Get up early and come back early. Don't get killed. C. Don't you wish for me to be well?" Lin Muyu said angrily, her figure disappearing into the darkness before dawn, trailing after Si Kongyao. He had almost completely blended his aura into the surroundings. This was the profoundness of the spiritual pulse technique. In terms of hiding one's aura, it was not inferior to Bai Yin's tortoise breathing technique. Under the moonlight, Si Kongyao held a water bag and flew at a low altitude like a fairy. The nearest stream was less than a kilometer away. It was relatively safe. However, Lin Muyu didn't think so. The aura of the assassins was still less than 5 kilometers away. However, one of them had disappeared. Just like the previous time, the spirit pulse technique could only detect his aura when he attacked. This person also had a knack for hiding aura. When Si Kongyao bent down to get water from the stream, that aura appeared again. Whoosh! A black shadow dashed through the bamboo forest. A murderous rapier went straight for Si Kongyao's back. Hua! An ice shield appeared and blocked this person's attack almost perfectly. Si Kongyao seemed to be prepared. Her pretty face was filled with anger. "Are you the one who chopped off Lin Tongtian's arm?" "That's right, it's me." The person was very calm. The light of the fire rule spirit bead shone around his blade. He smiled faintly and said, "Si Kongyao, you can die now." Indeed, this person's target was only Si Kongyao. To him, even Xianxia was not as meaningful as Si Kongyao's death. The sword light was like fire. In an instant he attacked 7 to 8 times, breaking Si Kongyao's ice mystic arts. The dignified Tianji sect's first mistress was actually unable to retaliate under this person's attack. With a kick, Si Kongyao's abdomen was injured. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fell into the bamboo forest. The impact of her body was so strong that she only stopped after crushing the entire bamboo forest. Die. The person's sword aura flew like a shuttle. However, at this moment his heart suddenly trembled. Someone was coming from behind, and it was also an expert. Wang. A whirlpool of flames wrapped around an ice frost sword. The assassin could not react in time and could only forcefully block it with his long sword. Dang. At the same time that the long sword was shaken off, a leg wrapped in a whirlpool kicked at him. During the intense battle, the assassin was actually distracted. He took a glance at the attacker. It was the most inconspicuous person among Si Kongyao's group. This young man dressed in a paladin attire looked like he had an ordinary cultivation. However, his sword contained the divine power of the 22nd Grotto Heaven Realm cultivation. Furthermore, it was 2 to 3 times stronger than an ordinary martial venerable's. It actually caused the assassin's palm to reverberate with a sense of shock. The hilt of the sword was turned upside down, and he slammed down violently towards Lin Muyu's ankle. Such a fast speed. If this attack landed, it would at least shatter Lin Muyu's ankle. He could not fight it head-on. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu turned around and retracted her left leg. Her body was in the air and she kicked towards the assassin's lower body. Good leg technique. Chapter 773. This set of leg technique was as fast as lightning and was closely linked, making it impossible for one to defend against it. However, it still couldn't cause any damage to the assassin. When the boot landed on his abdomen, it was blocked by a golden light wall. It was the divine wall. Any God state expert would have a chance to comprehend the divine wall when they broke through to the 30th paradise. The higher the talent, the higher the chance. It was enough to show that the assassin in front of them was definitely a talented person. With a swing of the blade, Lin Muyu's next round of attack was forcefully pushed back. There was a burning sensation around his body. The force field that the assassin had condensed was really scorching. With a sudden turn of his body, the assassin raised his palm and struck out. The raging flames in his palm expanded instantly. It was as though a huge flaming palm was pouncing towards Lin Muyu's face. The murderous aura was terrifying. Lin Muyu didn't have any time to react at all. He raised his fist subconsciously and the 7 luminaries' profound force was filled up in the blink of an eye. The space started to distort. All the 7 luminaries' profound force seemed to be concentrated at one point and went straight for the opponent's palm. 4 luminaries' demon and God's cry. Bang! The flames and the purple 7 luminaries' profound force burst out. The assassin's body swayed on the spot and stood firm. As for Lin Muyu, he was actually pushed back by nearly 10 meters by the collision. The difference in their cultivation level was obvious at a glance. The waves of God's tide on his fist were attacking and numbing his nerves. His entire left arm felt as though it was about to be burned off. Lin Muyu was covered in cold sweat. The waves of his opponent's 50-second paradise were too fierce and he almost couldn't bear it. After all, one was a hierarch and the other was a divine king. Moreover, his opponent had the forged immortal physique. The difference was too big. As though he had seen through the truth of Lin Muyu's strength, the vigilance in the assassin's eyes decreased. He held his sword and smiled. If this is all you have, then you can die now. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He swung his sword gently and frost danced around. It was the prelude to the icy jade frost's attack. Pa! Fallen leaves fluttered in the air, and under the impact of the airflow, Lin Muyu once again clashed with her opponent. Her sword continuously slashed with the penetrative power of jade snow ice, and streams of ice and snow splattered in all directions. The assassin did not dare to underestimate her either. He directly took out his spirit pearl of law, greatly increasing his divine power. Every sword strike brought with it a scorching flame. After nearly 10 rounds, Lin Muyu's power began to weaken, and she was no longer able to maintain her strongest attacks under the opponent's domain force field. What a pity! A talent like you is going to die like this. The assassin leaped up and rings of raging flames descended from the sky, imprisoning Lin Muyu on the ground like a cage. Law spirit beads surged around the blade of his sword, and a mighty strike descended from the sky. He actually planned to use this strike to directly kill Lin Muyu? Phew! Lin Muyu lowered her body and took a deep breath. A crescent moon-shaped energy seeped into the blade of her sword. At the same time, with a loud shout, the fire and ice law spirit beads flew out of her body, and she unleashed a falling moon river straight at her opponent. Boom! Flames and ice exploded in the sky, crashing in all directions. A loud sound rang through the clouds. In just a moment, Lin Tongtian and the others would definitely hear the news and rush over. There wasn't much time left for this assassin. But what Lin Muyu didn't expect was that River Falling Moon would actually be completely defeated by the opponent's law of fire. Her attack instantly crumbled, and the assassin's sword slashed through her protective astral energy. A wound appeared on Lin Muyu's chest and fresh blood flowed out. What? When the assassin saw the 2 law spirit beads around Lin Muyu's arm, he was dumbfounded. Could it be that this brat also had a forged immortal fate? Thinking of this, he couldn't let this brat live anymore. The assassin's figure descended with the wind, and his legs grabbed onto Lin Muyu's right arm with lightning speed. His fist descended from the sky and with a paw, it landed on her wrist and the ice origin sword instantly flew out of her hand. Be careful. In the bamboo forest, the heavily injured Si Kongyao felt a chill in her heart. Seeing that Lin Muyu was about to be killed, she actually felt a heart-wrenching pain. Was this an illusion? Between life and death, Lin Muyu's battle experience showed itself. Not only did she not panic, she even responded calmly. After the ice origin sword flew out of her hand, She suddenly opened her right hand, and a golden light exploded in the night. This was the light of dawn ability of the gourd martial spirit. In an instant the assassin's eyes were almost blinded and he screamed in pain. Shwa shwa shwa. The little demonic noise blade at her waist spun in her left hand, and Lin Muyu slashed out without thinking. Poochie! Blood splattered everywhere and the assassin's wrist was directly cut open. The demonic noise blade's high-speed spin had broken through the god wall, and left a bone-deep wound on his wrist. Bastard! The assassin flew into a rage. The instant he flipped over from above Lin Muyu, his fist landed on Lin Muyu's back. Peng! Under the heavy fist, Lin Muyu flew into the bamboo forest on the other side like a cannonball. Bamboo leaves swirled in the air and a few frightened hares ran into the distance. The assassin wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a burning pain came from his wrist. He used the sword in his right hand to support his body and step by step he walked towards Lin Muyu. His face was full of killing intent as he said, "I will kill you. I will kill you." However, at this time, the voice of a dragon knight came from the sky. "Miss Xianxia, where are you?" The dragon knight had come. The assassin was startled. If he stayed any longer he might be at a great disadvantage. After all, he was already injured. His gaze fell on the bamboo forest. That brat was only seriously injured but not dead. How could he be willing to give up? Chua. The spatial wall was torn open but he still left. Compared to his life, killing was nothing. Yao. Lin Tongtian's voice came from the sky. His dragon had already been killed and he could only fly by himself. He held the frozen ice spear in his hand and flew over. He put down the spear and helped Xianxia, whose white clothes were stained with blood. Lin Tongtian was so scared that his face turned pale. "Yao, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Xianxia shook her head and pointed to the bamboo forest in the distance. Quick, go and see the young hero. His injuries are even worse. If not for him, Yao would have been killed by the assassin." O.N. The dragon knight Fan Rei leaped down from the dragon's back and found the pitiful Lin Muyu in a pile of broken bamboo. There was a sword wound on his chest and 2 of the bones in his back seemed to have been broken. However, his complexion was still good and at least there was life in his eyes. "Don't move." Lin Muyu's voice was weak. "Lord Fan Rei, please let me lie down. Don't move. I need to heal my injuries and bones first. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be trouble." "Enen." Fan Rui nodded in agreement. At this time the other dragon knights had also landed. They looked at Lin Muyu but they did not look down on him. Instead they felt a sense of admiration. The assassins were obviously the same group of people from before. Even someone as strong as Lin Tongtian had his arm chopped off by them. On the other hand, not only did Lin Muyu save Xianxia, but he also saved his own life. It was enough to show how high his cultivation was. Just like that, Lin Muyu lay quietly in the dewy bamboo forest. He closed his eyes and guided the supreme divine powers in his body to unclog the bruises in his meridians and speed up the recovery and healing of his bones. A part of his supreme divine powers originated from Fushi's divine powers, and he was born with a strong self-healing ability. Not long after, his broken bones began to heal on their own. However, it would take at least half a day for them to fully heal. At this time, Lin Tongtian supported Xianxia as they walked over. Xianxia had already finished applying the medicine. She knelt beside Lin Muyu and said, "Young hero, thank you for saving me. You were injured so badly." "It's all right." Lin Muyu looked straight at the sky, which was gradually brightening. To be able to exchange blows with such an expert is one of the happiest things in life. "First mistress, you don't have to worry about it." Lin Tongtian frowned and asked, "Young hero, since you've exchanged blows with this person, did you notice anything?" "The law of fire and the cast Immortal character. Other than that, I don't know anything else. His martial arts are sometimes domineering and sometimes tricky. It's hard to defend against. Furthermore, this person is probably targeting First Mistress Xianxia. Are they here for Yao?" But Lin Tongtian was stunned. Lin Mu smiled. "I don't know either. However, Lord Lin Tongtian, can you imagine what would happen if Xianxia was assassinated?" Lin Tongtian pondered deeply for a moment. A Yao is the apple of Master's eye. If a Yao has really been harmed, then Master will surely be enraged. At that time, the entire Empyrean sect will launch a war. So long as we find out who did it, no matter if it's the Darkstone Empire or the Heavenly Jew Empire, a war will surely be unavoidable. That's right. That's his motive. But Lin Tongtian was only a martial artist. He did not know much about tactics and schemes. He said, but if the Thunder Ember sect does this, wouldn't they be creating trouble for the Blackstone Empire? The Blackstone Empire's military is not even half of the Tianji sects. Although the Thunder Ember sect is one of the 3 saint sects, they are far from being comparable to the Tianji sect. Why would they seek trouble for themselves? I'm afraid it might not be the Thunder Ember sect, Lin Muyu said. This, no matter how stupid Lin Tongtian was, he had already figured it out. Could it be that someone is trying to frame the Thunder Ember sect? I'm not sure. Lin Muyu shook her head. We can't be sure for now. Anyone can be a suspect. Anyway, Lord Lin Tongtian, you just have to protect Lady Si Kongyao for the time being. Yes, I will. Lin Tongtian looked at the sky and said, it's almost dawn. Let's get ready to set off. I'll order someone to cut down bamboo and make a stretcher for you. This way it won't affect our journey. We can enter the official road of the Celestial Empire before nightfall and seek refuge with their army. At least for now, the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire are still on good terms. Yes, I'll leave it to you. Lin Muyu nodded. She felt a wave of fatigue and fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 774. When he woke up again, it was already dusk. When Lin Muyu opened his eyes, he found that his body was swaying. He was on a stretcher, and although the wound on his chest had been bandaged, there was still a burning pain. The bones in his back had partially healed, but the faint pain was unbearable. The dense forest above him receded, and when he looked up, he saw the back of a dragon knight in dragon armor. It was rare to see 2 dragon knights carrying a stretcher. It was not easy to have such treatment. You're awake. On a horse, Si Kongyao looked at him with a smile. Yes, we're out of the forest of no return? Yes, we were out of the forest of no return in the afternoon. Now we're on the official road of the Celestial Empire. Si Kongyao pursed her lips and pointed to the front, saying, we showed our identification and the Celestial Empire's garrison general sent 1,000 troops to escort us. Lin Muyu nodded and looked around. There were soldiers with swords all around them. These people were the army of the Celestial Empire. The Tianju Empire was the largest country, and its emblem was an aggressive wolf's head. These soldiers' arms and clothes were embroidered with a copper wolf's head. All of them were silent and only knew how to hurry forward. Where are we going now? Lin Muyu asked again. This time it was Xianxia who answered him on the left, to Laohan City, the capital of the Celestial Empire. We are now in the Tianju province, where Laohan City is located. It will only take 3 days to get to Laohan City. Coincidentally, at noon we received a letter from the Wolf Falcon. It was a letter of credence about the engagement between the 3rd princess, Her Highness Baiming Chong, and the 2nd prince of the Celestial Empire, Qin Yu. So this time we are on a diplomatic mission to the Celestial Empire. She paused and said, perhaps, if we have the identity of an envoy, the assassins will not dare to do anything to us. Oh, Lin Muyu responded and did not speak again. Just like what Xianxia had said, they didn't encounter any more unforeseen events until nighttime. After all, there were 1,000 soldiers protecting them, so those assassins would naturally have some restraints. There were countless deity realm experts in the Heavenly Great Continent, so the army naturally had a way to deal with deity realm experts. As for the specifics, this was something that Lin Muyu also wanted to know. On the first night they camped in the wilderness, safe and sound. By the evening of the next day, the team had already entered a relatively prosperous county city. The population had increased, and the number of troops guarding along the way had also increased. In terms of the number of troops, the Celestial Empire had 1.5 million people, which was almost twice the number of troops of the Tianji Empire. However, the combat ability of the troops was far inferior to that of the Tianji Empire. They were poor in resources and there were only 2 sacred martial gods. Otherwise, the Celestial Empire would have long declared war on the Tianji Empire. Sir Dragon Rider, let's rest in the inn up ahead tonight. We'll set off tomorrow morning and arrive at Frosty City in the evening. The accompanying Chili Arch said respectfully. Although Lin Tongtian had lost an arm, he still had at least 70% of his strength. To these ordinary soldiers, Lin Tongtian was still a superior existence. Yes, thank you for your trouble, General. You're welcome. Lin Muyu had already started riding on his own. He had a board on his back to protect his newly healed bones. This kind of treatment method amazed Si Kongyao, Zhuang Xiaoyu and the others. They had never seen such a strange treatment method before. Taiyuan County, a prosperous county city in Tianjia province. At night, the county city was bustling with activity as the lanterns were lit. The banquet was hosted by the princess's residence. After dinner they returned to the inn. Lin Tongtian needed to rest, but the few young people could not contain their excitement. After all, they had stayed in the forest of no return for nearly 10 days. They did not eat well or dress well. Now that they were finally in the bustling city, they naturally wanted to go out for a walk. Moreover, the county city of the Celestial Empire was very exotic to them. They could not miss it. "We're just going out for a walk. We'll be back in a short while." Si Kongyao pouted and persuaded Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu did not want to go out. He wanted to take advantage of the time when he was injured to study the technique of using the law of space that he had secretly learned from the demon emperor Nuslayer. He shook his head and said, "No, I'm tired. I want to rest early." However, Shi Tianming blinked his eyes and said, "Young hero, let's go out and take a look. The Celestial Empire is different from the Tianji Empire. It is said that the women of the Celestial Empire are hot and passionate. They are much more open than the women of our country. Since we are all here, why should we stay in the room alone? Don't you think so?" Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Baiming Jie's ashes had not been properly placed, but this group of people actually had the mood to go out and play. It seemed that they did not have much of a relationship with Baiming Jie in Tianji City. At this moment, Xianxia also persuaded, "I know that young hero is worried about safety. Don't worry, no one would dare to kill anyone in the prefecture city, not to mention this is the famous Taiyuan prefecture. There are 10,000 guards in the prefecture city. No one would dare to kill anyone here. Otherwise, they would be wanted by the entire Celestial Empire." Lin Muyu could not help but smile. "Miss Xianxia, you are thinking too simply. That assassin is a sacred martial king. So what if there are many people in the army?" "That's not necessarily true." Xianxia smiled and said, "In front of an army of thousands upon thousands of men and horses, even the saint martial god would be captured as long as a single demonic heart arrow hits." "Demon heart arrow? Yes, don't you know?" Si Kongyao, who was at the side, widened her eyes and said, "This is the weapon that the armies of the three empires are equipped with, the demon heart arrow. The arrowhead is tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone. As long as the demon heart arrow penetrates the skin and fuses with the blood vessels, the essence of the demon heart stone will naturally plant the demon heart in the body of the god-level expert, and he will not be able to use any divine power." As she spoke, Si Kongyao pulled out a black arrow from the quiver on the back of a guard and said, "This is it. Look at it yourself. The arrowhead is tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone. The demon heart stone is born to suppress the power of the gods. As long as the essence of the demon heart stone enters the body, even the top experts of the 99-level grotto heavens will lose their cultivation within 2 hours." Lin Muyu's heart sank when she heard this. Planting the demon heart. That's amazing. Are there many of these demon heart stones? Not too many, but not too few either. Si Kongyao patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry so much. Don't worry, the armies here won't do anything to us. Moreover, even if the demon heart arrow is the nemesis of god-level experts, it must at least be able to hit the target. Therefore, the sacred martial kings and sacred martial gods who have the ability of the divine wall won't care about the demon heart stone at all." Lin Muyu nodded. "All right then. Let's go shopping then." Luckily, there weren't many god-level experts in the Shattered Cauldron realm. This demon heart stone could become a weapon for the Shattered Cauldron realm to deal with the Celestial Pole continent. It was just that she didn't know how to control it for the time being. When she had the chance, she must study it properly. At night, the streets were brightly lit. The culture here was almost exactly the same as that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. The most prosperous areas in Taiyuan County were almost all occupied by restaurants, weapon shops, brothels and gambling houses. Zhuang Xiaoyu, Shi Tianming, and the others were all famous people and naturally wouldn't gamble. Moreover, with the two great beauties Si Kongyao and Xianxia following them, they looked serious and didn't even look sideways when they passed by the brothels. However, Lin Muyu couldn't help but take a few more glances and said with a smile, "Io? The women of the Celestial Empire are really passionate. All the clothes on that dancer added up are only the size of a palm. Is there still any law? Huh. Seeing that his eyes were about to pop out, Xianxia also got angry out of nowhere. She grabbed Lin Muyu's wrist and pulled him away. Panting with rage, she said, "What are you looking at? Be careful or you'll get a needle hole if you look too much. If you're really too young and hot-blooded. You can't even resist this small temptation." Zhou Xian giggled. Lu Bai looked at his brows and said with a smile, "Young hero Miss Xikong is jealous. You mustn't look at other women. If you want to look, you can only look at her." "Did I?" Lin Muyu was at a loss. Xikong Yao's face was flushed red. She actually didn't refute Lu Bai's words. Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. No one knew what he was thinking. He probably thought that Xikong Yao had no chance in this lifetime. It was obvious that after Lin Muyu saved her in the forest of no return, Xikong Yao's attitude towards Lin Muyu had become much more intimate. She seemed to have the intention of secretly giving her heart to Lin Muyu. Although Lin Muyu wanted to befriend Xikong Yao because her identity was too special, she didn't want to take advantage of Xikong Yao's feelings for her. She said with a smile, "Bai, don't talk nonsense. Why would Miss Xikong like me? Besides, I already have a sweetheart in my hometown." He looked at Xikong Yao with a smile and said, "Miss, if you want to thank me for saving you, just treat me to a big meal late at night. It seems that the food in those restaurants must be very fragrant. I can smell it from afar." Xikong Yao felt a little disappointed for no reason. She wanted to ask who his sweetheart was, but she was the miss of the Tianji sect after all. Such a noble identity did not allow her to lower herself. She said with a smile, "You actually want to eat more after eating so much delicious food in the princess residence. You're really a foodie. But let's talk about it after we walk around for a while." Lin Muyu's gaze fell on the shops on both sides again. It was time to think of a way to get some demonic spirit stones. In the celestial pole continent, the demonic spirit stones were the most attractive things to Lin Muyu, followed by the demonic heart stone. Both of them were very important. The demonic spirit stones could greatly increase the strength of the few god state experts in the shattered tripod world, while the demonic heart stone would be a sharp weapon in the future. Besides, Lin Muyu also had a plan. The white diamond arrowhead of the shattered tripod world was very sharp. If a sanctuary expert drew the bow, it would be able to penetrate the god state expert's divine power wall. If the demonic heart stone was refined into the arrowhead of the white diamond, this kind of arrow would simply be a nightmare for the god state expert. As long as it was used properly, it might not be impossible for a sanctuary expert to kill a god state expert. However, after thinking about it carefully, it was too risky. The senses of a god state expert were very sharp. Perhaps, a sanctuary expert could be killed instantly by teleportation before the bow was drawn. Everything she thought about now was just wishful thinking. Chapter 775. Laohan City was a majestic city on a plain. It was also the economic, military and political center of the entire Celestial Empire. When Lin Muyu, Xikong Yao and the rest arrived 100 miles away from Laohan City, they were already welcomed by the officials and troops sent by the capital city. It seemed that the Celestial Empire valued this group of envoys very much. When they arrived 50 miles away, there was another group of people welcoming them. By the time they entered Laohan City, there were already close to 2,000 people. They entered the city in a grandiose manner and were welcomed by the citizens. Lin Muyu did not have any military or official positions in the Tianji Empire, so her identity was only that of Xikong Yao's friend. Riding on a warhorse, they slowly entered the city. Looking at the numb faces of the citizens who were welcoming them on both sides, she could not help but snicker in her heart. What a bunch of unprofessional actors. Needless to say, these citizens were organized by the officials. Otherwise, who would be so free to welcome the envoys of another country? Not long after, another group of people dressed in official robes came to welcome them. They exchanged some polite words with Lin Tongtian and Xikong Yao. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was distracted and only looked at the buildings in Laohan City. As expected, although Laohan City was vast, it was still inferior to Tianji City in terms of prosperity. Just the number of combat temples alone was much lesser. After nearly an hour of traveling, they finally arrived at the palace. A gilded staircase led directly to the main hall. Everyone walked up the staircase. On both sides of the staircase, there were imperial guards with bright swords and armor. Further away there were many giant dragons standing beside the dragon pillars. Their giant heads were staring at the visitors in the distance. Beside the giant dragons were dragon knights with helmets under their armpits. They had their dragon swords on the ground and were looking straight ahead. Obviously, this was the Celestial Empire's display of force to the envoys. Lin Tongtian held the frozen ice spear in his single arm, his gaze looking straight in the direction of the main hall, his footsteps heavy and steady. Behind him, Zhuang Xiaoyu, Si Kongyao, Zhou Xian, and Shi Tianming did not lose the bearing of the descendants of famous sections. Their expressions were calm, as if they did not see anything happening around them. However, there was one person who was different. Lu Bai looked to both sides and could not stop exclaiming in surprise. "Is that Zilong? Damn, such big teeth, I was scared to death. Is the golden border on the steps real? Young hero, can we deduct one piece from it? We'll be rich. The palace maids are so beautiful, they are so voluptuous. Wow, the pendant on the palace lantern is a purple crystal. Rich 2F** King Rich." Lin Muyu didn't pay any attention to it and only leisurely strolled beside Si Kongyao. The Ice Origin sword hung at his waist, his hand on the sword hilt. His gaze was calm and composed, as if he didn't see the soldiers on both sides. It was as if these elite soldiers were just chess pieces in his eyes, with no other meaning. Shang Qian couldn't help but look at Lin Muyu a few more times. He was full of admiration. If Lin Muyu was wearing his military uniform, Shang Qian would definitely think that he was a famous general of the Celestial Empire. Perhaps only a famous general who had experienced hundreds of battles and strategized would turn a blind eye to such a killing scene. Moreover, Lin Muyu's gaze was extremely calm. The more solemn this scene was, the more precious this kind of calmness was. Who exactly was he? How could he be so calm? Did he have a motive for getting close to Si Kongyao? Shang Qian wrote a series of question marks in his heart. Outside the grand hall, a guard captain shouted, "Summon Lin Tongtian, Si Kongyao, and the rest of the envoys." Lin Tongtian cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." They stepped onto the red carpet that was covered with golden patterns and slowly entered the main hall. There were many officials on both sides of the hall, and there were civil and military officials on both sides. Most of the civil officials looked indifferent, sneering and disdainful, while the military officials were full of hostility. Although the two countries had not started a war, they were not on friendly terms. Moreover, after the plain boundary disappeared, this war was inevitable. Lin Muyu raised her head and glanced around. The eyes of a group of generals met with her. Among them, there were a few gazes that were unusually sharp, sending chills down one's spine. Presumably, those generals' cultivation should be pretty good, at least at the immortal state. On the throne sat a seemingly frail man in his 50s. With one look, one could tell that he must have been addicted to wine and women. His body had already been emptied. His eyes were unfocused and he seemed to be suffering from a variety of illnesses. Qin Hai, the Emperor of the Celestial Empire. Although Lin Muyu was not a medical officer, she knew that this man would not live for more than 5 years. The Celestial Empire would have to change its emperor sooner or later. Behind Qin Hai there were two young men on the left and right. The one on the left was dressed in luxurious clothes and had a frivolous look on his face. He was the Crown Prince, Qin Qian. According to the legends, the Crown Prince of the Celestial Empire was like his father. He was addicted to women and poetry all day long. He did not think about improving himself and was a good-for-nothing. From the looks of it, it was more or less the case. On the other hand, the young man on the right had a sharp look in his eyes. His loose robe revealed his collar, and even the chainmail on his chest could be seen. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He looked at Lin Muyu and the others calmly. When his eyes met with Lin Muyu's, he seemed to smile. It was hard to tell if it was an illusion. Qin Yu, the second prince of the Celestial Empire. He was the most ambitious among the princes. He recruited many followers and practiced the art of war. His cultivation had already reached the Holy Martial King realm. This man was not simple. Lord Lin Tongtian, the first dragon rider of the Tianji Empire, is here. Please forgive me for not going out to greet you. Qin Hai stood up and coughed violently. He smiled and said, "How was the journey?" "Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty. Everything was fine." Lin Tongtian bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, your arm?" Qin Hai noticed it too. "I encountered an assassin on the way and lost an arm." Lin Tongtian's expression was cold. "I see. The border is not peaceful. Please take care, Your Majesty." Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Lin Tongun took out the letter of credence and said, "This is a letter written by His Majesty. It concerns the marriage between the second Prince Qin Yu and the third princess of the Tianji Empire, Bai Ming Chong. Please take a look. Someone bring it here." After Qin Hai finished reading the letter, his expression was uncertain. He pushed the letter to the back and said, This is your marriage contract. Take a look at it yourself. Her Highness Bai Ming Chong is both beautiful and talented. It is your fortune to be able to marry her. You must cherish this marriage." Qin Yu nodded. "I will follow father's decision." "All right, then let's pick a date for the wedding." Qin Hai stood up and coughed a few more times. He said, "I am not feeling well and need to rest early. Crown Prince, please host the lunch and entertain the envoys from afar." "Yes, father." Si Kongyao's face was filled with anger. This is too much. Indeed, Qin Hai's perfunctory and neglectful attitude was too obvious. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Qin Hai was indeed a muddle-headed ruler. Even if the two countries were about to go to war, he still had to show the proper etiquette. Yet he had actually forgotten about the proper etiquette, which was a huge disgrace to the etiquette of a large country. Crown Prince Qin Qian walked forward and smiled respectfully. "Everyone, please come in. I have already arranged a state banquet." "Thank you, Your Highness." Shang Qian and Si Kongyao nodded in unison. Qin Qian smiled and his eyes swept across Si Kongyao's face, chest and bottom. He said, "This must be Tianji Sec's Miss Si Kongyao? I have admired Mrs. Name for a long time. Today I finally have the honor to meet you. I'm very happy. I heard that Miss Si Kongyao is well versed in the zither. I wonder if I will have the honor to listen to the music of heaven after the banquet?" He did not look like a crown prince at all. He looked more like a playboy. Si Kongyao suppressed her boredom and said, "Si Kongyao is exhausted from the long journey. I do not feel like playing the zither. My apologies, Your Highness." She actually rejected him in public. Qin Qian's face turned ugly. He turned around and smiled. "It's fine, let's go to the side hall for the banquet." The luncheon was on the scale of a state banquet. There were 100 dishes in total and it was extremely luxurious. However, Lin Tongtian was ridiculed and Si Kongyao was taken advantage of, so they were not in the mood to eat. Instead, Lin Muyu and Lu Bai, the two heartless fellows, got to enjoy themselves. After the luncheon, Qin Qian arranged for everyone to stay in the palace. Lin Muyu's room was in an inconspicuous room, but it was quiet. Dong dong. Lu Bai's voice came from outside the door. "Young hero Zhuang Xiaoyu and Miss Si Kongyao want to go to the Imperial Garden to enjoy the scenery and relax. Won't you come along?" "No, I'm waiting for someone." "You go ahead." "Waiting for someone?" Bai, you go ahead. It's safe to follow Miss Si Kongyao." "All right then." 2 hours later, footsteps could be heard from the courtyard. A servant announced, "The second prince, Qin Yu, has arrived." As expected, he came. Lin Muyu did not open the door. She continued to drink her tea. Dong dong. Qin Yu's voice came from outside. "Young hero, are you not willing to see me?" Lin Muyu smiled. "If the second prince wants to come in, you can open the door yourself. This is the palace of the Celestial Empire. It's your home." "Ha ha." Qin Yu laughed and pushed the door open. Behind him was a young man who said, "Young hero, you're really smart." "This is..." Lin Muyu looked at the person behind Qin Yu. The young man cupped his hands and said, "I'm Liao Yong, the nephew of Han Yuan, the leader of the Celestial Extinction Sect. I'm also the second prince's right-hand man." Lin Muyu's eyes lit up. "Liao Yong? Please come in. It's not the first time we've met." Liao Yong was stunned. His eyes were full of killing intent. Qin Yu laughed and said, please sit. There's no need to be so hostile." Lin Muyu nodded. The second prince was too smart. Almost everything was under his control. After sitting down, Qin Yu said, "Where are you from, young hero?" "Your Highness, you can guess. With your ability you should be able to guess. If I'm not mistaken, it should be in the west, right?" "Yes, Your Highness is wise." "What's your surname?" "Your Highness, guess again." Lin Muyu's lips curled into a smile. Qin Yu smiled. "Maybe his surname is Qin." Lin Muyu frowned. She was afraid that Qin Yu's intelligence was far beyond her expectation. Qin Yu smiled. "How do you know that Liao Yong is that person?" "The injury on his wrist. He was a little unnatural when he saluted just now. If I'm not mistaken, it's an injury caused by my mistake. Oh? Qinyu smiled. Young hero, do you know that if you know too much, you'll get yourself killed? Lin Muyu smiled without saying anything. Why are you smiling, young hero? Lin Muyu chuckled. Your Highness must be guessing whether my surname is Lin or Feng, right? It's really fun to talk to a smart person. Qinyu put the teacup on the table and said, yes, if your surname is neither Lin nor Feng, then I can only make you disappear from the celestial maximum continent today. No, you won't be willing to kill me. Lin Muyu was very confident. Why? Because only I can achieve your hegemony. Qinyu was silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed heartily. He stood up and saluted. I'm Qinyu. I pay my respects to His Highness King Qin of the Qin Empire. Liao Yang was stunned. He didn't understand what was going on. Chapter 776. Second Prince, you don't have to tease me. Please get up. Lin Muyu helped Qinyu up, but her heart was cold. The Celestial Empire had such a powerful second prince. He was destined to be one of the enemies of the Qin Empire in the future, but not yet. How do you know I'm King Qin? It's very simple. Qinyu stood up straight and his eyes were burning. He said, I've also sent a few spies with good cultivation to the Shattered Realm across the West Sea. They learned that only King Qin isn't in the Qin Empire. Prince Xen Feng Jixing and Prince Zhou Xian are in Lanyan City. Only King Qin hasn't been seen for more than a month. But there's a person in the Tianji Empire who can kill a demon king. Her age and appearance are exactly the same as the description of Lin Muyu. Who else could it be but King Qin? Lin Muyu's expression was calm. She smiled and said, Second Prince, your mind is as clear as dust. I admire you. Beside her, Liao Yang was dumbfounded. He said, You're Lin Muyu, King Qin of the Qin Empire? Yes. With a clang, Liao Yang had already pulled out her sword and stood in front of Qinyu to protect him. She said, Second Prince, be careful. The war is imminent. Lin Muyu can only be our enemy. No, Lord Liao Yang, don't worry. Qinyu pressed down Liao Yang's hand that was holding the sword. He smiled and said, Your Highness King Qin didn't come to the Celestial Empire to assassinate me. Lin Muyu smiled, cupped her fists and said respectfully, King Qin of the Qin Empire of the Shattered Realm, Lin Muyu pays respect to Second Prince. I came to the Tianjia continent this time to meet the real master of the Celestial Empire. What makes you think I'm the master of the Empire? The Second Prince narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, You should know that father is still on the throne. If you show any disrespect, even the King of Qin will be sentenced to death for the crime of disrespect. Lin Muyu sat down again and said, Your emperor's complexion is gloomy. It's obvious that he's seriously ill. Even the elixirs can't save him. The first prince is inexperienced and can't achieve anything great. As for the second prince, he keeps followers and makes friends with heroes. The future ruler of the empire can only be you. There won't be a second person. Lin Muyu. Qinyu shouted, Don't force me to kill you for slandering my father and brother. Lin Muyu smiled. There are no outsiders here. Why does the second prince have to threaten me? Qinyu's anger turned into laughter. He said, as expected of the famous General Lin Muyu of the Shattered Realm. You're so calm even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you. It's admirable. I wonder why the King of Qin has come to see me this time. The second prince should have guessed it already. However, it's better for me to say it clearly. Lin Muyu stretched his arms. Waves of divine power slowly enshrouded the surroundings. He said slowly, Although your empire has a strong army, the number of sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, sacred martial venerables, and sacred martial warriors is far inferior to the Tianji Empire. Moreover, I've seen the military camps of your empire along the way. They're much inferior to the Tianji Empire in terms of drills and battle formations. Not to mention the tiger leopard cavalry and other beast cavalry of the Tianji Empire. I'm afraid your empire can't even defend against the regular cavalry of the Tianji Empire. Qinyu calmly held the teacup and took a sip. However, the teacup lid knocked against the quilt twice. It was obvious that he wasn't as calm as he looked. Lin Muyu's words were like swords stabbing at the crux of the problem. What he said was also the biggest predicament the entire Celestial Empire was facing. Lin Muyu saw that his words were working, so he continued, Moreover, I've seen the map of the continent. Although the Celestial Empire has a vast territory, more than 30% of its land is desert, neighboring areas and wastelands. It's impossible to cultivate. The iron ore, logging and other resources are also less than 80% of the Tianji Empire's. However, such resources are needed to support an army of 1.5 million soldiers. The taxes will definitely be higher than the Tianji Empire's. The common people will suffer unspeakably, which will easily lead to population loss. A large number of people will leave the Celestial Empire for the Tianji Empire. In this way, the strength of the empire will be greatly damaged. Beads of sweat began to appear on Qin Yu's forehead. Liao Yang was furious. He said, "You're not the emperor of Qin. You're just a spy sent by the Tianji Empire. Otherwise, how could you know the ins and outs of the Celestial Empire so well? Quickly surrender and save me the trouble." "Wait, Liao Yang." Qin Yu raised his arm to stop Liao Yang from making a move. He exhaled and said, "He's not a spy. It's just that he knows too much about governing a country. So much so that he can infer the pros and cons of the situation from the surface." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Therefore what the Celestial Empire needs at the moment is land. A large amount of fertile land needs to be cultivated and used to raise soldiers. It also needs a large amount of iron ore to forge weapons and armor. And the Tianji Empire has all of these." Qin Yu squinted his eyes and smiled. He said, "Yes. But Emperor of Qin, don't forget that the Shattered Cauldron Realm has all of these as well. I heard that the land in the Shattered Cauldron Realm is very fertile, and the trade is also very developed. Gold, silver, and iron ore mines can be found in the mountains of various provinces." "That's right." A beam of light shot out from Lin Muyu's eyes. She smiled and said, "But if someone wants to invade the land of the Shattered Cauldron Realm, the millions of soldiers of the Qin Empire will fight to the death. I, Lin Muyu, will also join the war with all my strength. Even if I lose, I won't feel ashamed. But Second Prince, have you ever thought that there are two countries between your empire and the Shattered Cauldron Realm? One is the Tianji Empire and the other is the Blackstone Empire. I'm afraid that you won't be able to touch the Shattered Cauldron Realm even if you want to. My empire can form an alliance with the Tianji Empire." Bai Mingyuan hides his strength and bides his time. He is eyeing your empire covetously. Do you think he will give you a piece of fat meat to fatten you up before attacking them? This, Qin Yu took a deep breath and smiled with a burning gaze. He said, "Could it be that the Emperor of Qin came all the way to Scorching Cold City just to tell me this?" "No." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "I have a few more words." "Go ahead." "If the Second Prince doesn't want to cooperate with me, the Tianji Empire will naturally cooperate with me. If the Second Prince wants to watch the Shattered Cauldron Realm be destroyed, then just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. But once the war starts, I will find a chance to bow down to Bai Mingyuan, and then recommend myself to be the vanguard to attack the Celestial Empire. Please believe that I will do what I say." "You?" Qin Yu was almost soaked in sweat. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Is the Emperor of Qin threatening me?" "Yes. If the Second Prince is willing to cooperate with me, the Qin Empire will naturally do its best to resist the attack of the Tianji Empire. Once they are defeated, we will attack from the east and the west. I, Lin Muyu, can protect the territorial integrity of the Qin Empire, and your highness can seize the fertile land of the Tianji Empire and make great contributions. Why not?" Qin Yu put down the teacup slowly and his gaze gradually became determined. He said, "Then, it's settled. Your highness, please take out the seal." Liao Yang asked someone to bring a paper book. "Yes, your highness." Liao Yang turned around and left. Soon he came back with a brush, ink, paper and inkstone. Qin Yu picked up the brush with sweat on his face. He said with a faint smile, "Talking with the Emperor of Qin is no different from fighting on the battlefield. I hope our two empires won't fight each other in the future." Lin Muyu smiled and took out the seal of the Emperor of Qin from the Cosmos sack. Qin Yu began to write the covenant by himself and Lin Muyu corrected him on the side. The content of the covenant was very simple. Once the Tianji Empire started the war, the Celestial Empire must deploy all the main armies to the border of the Tianji Empire and wait for an opportunity to put pressure on the Tianji Empire. In addition, the Qin Empire must not use any weapons against the Celestial Empire within 10 years. This was not only a covenant but also a peace treaty. When the two seals fell on the covenant, Lin Muyu and Qin Yu both smiled. Come, let's have some tea." Lin Muyu became extremely polite. Qin Yu laughed heartily and sat opposite Lin Muyu on the ground. He had the demeanor of an ancient person. Your Highness, there's still one thing I don't understand. Please say it, Your Highness. Although the covenant has been made, Your Highness is still the second prince and not the emperor of the Celestial Empire. If the Tianji Empire starts the war and your father insists on helping the Tianji Empire to attack the Shattered World, what will Your Highness do? The covenant has been made and I will definitely carry it out. Qinyu took a deep breath and added, even if I have to bleed. Lin Muyu immediately felt relieved. She smiled and said, come, let's continue drinking tea. Ah, please, Your Highness. Obviously, Qinyu was a scheming and ambitious person. Although such a person was very frightening, Lin Muyu admired Qinyu very much. It was precisely because of his desire for power and strength that Qinyu would definitely make it happen. Even if he had to resort to unscrupulous means. Emperor Qinhai was muddle-headed, and it was only a matter of time before Qinyu replaced him. If Qinyu wasn't willing to commit patricide, then he might only be a second prince for the rest of his life, or perhaps only the emperor of the Heavenly Zhou Empire. If he wanted to become the ruler of the Celestial Pole continent, he had to take this step. Lin Muyu firmly believed in this. All those who were greedy for power were the same. It was not until late at night that Liu Bai, Si Kongyao, Xianxia, and the others finally returned. Clearly they had a great time and their faces were filled with joy. Young hero, it's such a pity that you didn't go. Liu Bai's face was full of excitement. There are lanterns in the city today and there are even naked dancers dancing. Lin Muyu looked stunned. Why didn't you ask me to go with you? You said you wouldn't go, so I did. It's all your fault for not being firm enough. Liu Bai felt wronged. Si Kongyao smiled and said, then what should we do next? Are we going to play in scorching cold city for a few more days? No, let's set off tomorrow. We'll go to the Blackstone Empire. I want to see what the Blackstone Empire looks like. Okay. Zhuang Xiaoyu said, we've just sent people to escort the coffin of little Prince Baiming back to Tianji City. We can travel to the Blackstone Empire, but the people of the Blackstone Empire are tough, so we must be more careful. Got it. Si Kongyao was a little impatient, but her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Muyu with a smile. Do you want to eat supper? It's my treat. Okay. Zhuang Xiaoyu was silent and he felt really upset. He couldn't help but raise his head to look at Xianxia, but saw that Xianxia was also looking at Lin Muyu, and there was actually some loneliness in her eyes. Suddenly Zhuang Xiaoyu felt even worse. Chapter 777. The next day they woke up early, packed their luggage and left scorching Han City. As expected, the Celestial Empire's Emperor Qinhai and Crown Prince Qinqian completely ignored Si Kongyao, Lin Tongtian and the rest. But when they left scorching Han City, a group of cavalrymen chased after them and shouted, Everyone please wait. Everyone please wait. Everyone stopped their horses. The cavalrymen moved aside. Under the canopy, the second prince, Qinyu, came to send them off personally. He cupped his hands and smiled. Lord Lin Tongtun and Miss Si Kongyao left in such a hurry. The Celestial Empire did not treat you well, please forgive us. Lin Tongtun smiled. Your Highness, you are too kind. Men, bring me my humble greetings. A few guards walked forward with trays in their hands. The trays were filled with dazzling gold ingots as well as some relatively exquisite cloths. Your Highness, this is a small token of my appreciation, please accept it. Take it as my apology and compensation on behalf of the Celestial Empire. This gold is for your travel expenses, please do not reject it. Lin Tongtian, Si Kongyao, Xianxia and the rest were not people who lacked money, so they naturally did not need these. Instead it was Lin Muyu who said cheerfully, travel expenses? Skid. Bai, go and accept the second prince's gift. Yes. Liu Bai was overjoyed at the sight of money. He took the heavy gold ingots and stuffed them into the luggage on the horse. Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said, Your Highness, thank you for your kind intentions. Qinyu smiled. Take care, young hero. Before we part, Qinyu has something to tell you. Please speak. Qinyu was an elegant man. He smiled and recited a poem. The mountain is high and the river is long. The light snow has just stopped and the rain is endless. Warm wine and chat in the pavilion, who cares about the snow? Thank you, Your Highness. Lin Muyu nodded and repeated the poem in her heart, but she could not understand what Qinyu meant. Whatever, let him be. They left scorching Han City and headed to the Blackstone Empire. However, Scorching Han City was more than 3,000 miles away from the Blackstone Empire's capital, Xianxia City. It would take half a month even if they rode at full speed. 5 days later, Lin Tongtian received a summon from Tianji City and led the dragon riders back to Tianji City to report. 9 days later, everyone left the territory of the Heavenly Zhou Empire and entered one of the 3 great provinces of the Darkstone Empire, the Red Rock Province. As soon as they entered the Red Rock Province, it caused them to have an oppressive feeling. The Darkstone Empire had a small amount of land but a large amount of people, and the area of the 3 great provinces added together wasn't even as large as the Skydawn Empire's West Mountain Province, causing the pressure on the lives of its people to be extremely great. They rode in the forest. It was March and flowers were in full bloom. In the forest, the butterflies danced and the fragrance wafted. It was an indescribable feeling that made people feel relaxed and happy. Si Kongyao and Zhou Xian, the 2 girls, immediately became as happy as fish swimming into the sea. They spurred their horses to gallop madly for a while, dismounted to admire the flowers, and then spurred their horses forward again. Yao Miss Zhou Xian, take care. Zhuang Xiaoyu warned. The people of the Darkstone Empire are ferocious and bandits run amok. Walk slowly, don't encounter bandits or wandering mercenaries. These people kill without batting an eyelid. Si Kongyao chuckled from afar. Yo, when did our great master Situ become as timid as a mouse? Would you care about mere mountain bandits? This. Zhuang Xiaoyu was a little embarrassed. As Si Kongyao said, he was scared to death by the demon emperor, assassins and other strong enemies in the forest of no return. Now he was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bow. The confidence and calmness he had built up in the past had long disappeared. Anyway, it's always good to be careful. Zhuang Xiaoyu said. Lin Muyu nodded. Well, it's better to be careful. Take care. At the side, Lu Bai took a deep breath and broke away from the cultivation of the dragon forging bone remnant scroll. He said, Young hero, I feel a warm sensation in my chi. There's a power that's about to come out. It seems that the demon spirit stone that young hero refined last night has taken effect. What worked? You just need to guide the force in your chi high and spit it out. Okay. Lu Bai yelled in a low voice. A mass of true energy appeared in his palm, but he couldn't spit it out. He couldn't help but scream as if he was suffocating to death. Lin Muyu gathered her divine power in her eyes. She raised her fingers and used her supreme divine power to strike 3 times on Lu Bai's back. All of them landed on the important acupoints. The supreme divine power miraculously dissolved the blockage. Suddenly, a vigorous force was spat out from Lu Bai's arm to his palm. Swish swish swish. It was a white airflow. Battle aura. In just 1 short month, Lu Bai had actually stepped into the heaven realm from a rookie. It had been hard on him. This kid's talent could be said to be not bad. Of course, the main credit was due to the dragon forging bone remnant scroll and the demon spirit stone's catalysis. Otherwise, no matter how talented he was, it would be impossible for him to advance at such a godly speed. Ha ha. Lu Bai was overjoyed and said, It's battle aura. It's battle aura. Great, I'm even closer to becoming a sacred warrior. Ha, this is great. In the distance, Zhuang Xiaoyu frowned. Tisk, he wants to become a sacred warrior with this level of cultivation. He really doesn't know what he's talking about. Shi Tianming, who was at the side, laughed and said, Young hero, Lu Bai is just a swindler. Why did you spend so much effort on him? Do you really want to nurture Lu Bai into a sacred warrior? Is there anything wrong with that? Lin Muyu smiled and said, I believe that Bu Yi will become stronger day by day and make those who look down on him look at him in a different light. Lu Bai was silent. What's the matter? Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai's shoulders trembled slightly. He held the reins with both hands and looked at the grass under the horse's hooves. He said in a low voice, Young hero, everyone looks down on me. You are so strong, why do you take care of me so much? I have a purpose. Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and said with a smile, Just cultivate well. I will leave this continent sooner or later. At that time, I want you to inherit my will and establish a sect on this continent. Establish a sect? Lu Bai was stunned and said, Impossible, absolutely impossible. Although there are many sects on the continent, to establish a sect, one must at least have the cultivation of a sacred warrior. Otherwise one will only become a laughing stock. Young hero, you should find someone else. I, Lu Bai, am really not cut out for that. You know that. No, I know that you will become stronger. Lin Muyu smiled and said, just take it as doing it for those who look down on you. Just take it as doing it so that you don't have to rely on others and be bullied. Even if the whole world doesn't believe in you, I believe in you. Lu Bai shuddered. Establishing a sect was too difficult for him. However, with an unfathomable backing like Lin Muyu, Lu Bai finally gathered his confidence and said, I will. Cultivate well and don't let your imagination run wild. Okay. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Si Kongyao, who was galloping through the flowers and grass in the distance. She couldn't help but smile. To establish a sect, it was naturally impossible to rely on Lu Bai alone. He needed the help of another person, and that person was right in front of him. The key was how to make her help him willingly. This was a big problem. After all, her identity was too special. The group of people wandered in the wilderness, stopping from time to time. When it was close to evening, Shi Tianming unfurled the map and carefully studied it. He said to Lin Muyu, Young hero, we have two paths. One is to take the official road on the left and go in the direction of Red Rock City. Red Rock City is the capital of the province and can be considered prosperous. The other path is to continue forward. However, the Blackstone Empire calls it a forbidden area. Forbidden area again? Is there a demon spirit? No, it's a mercenary. Shi Tianming squinted his eyes and smiled. The Blackstone Empire is famous for two things. One is the women of the Blackstone Empire, who are passionate and full of tricks. The other is the mercenaries of the Blackstone Empire, who are cruel and ruthless. They have a large number of people, and even the local government is in awe of them. It is said that there are over 300 mercenary groups in the 3 provinces of the Blackstone Empire. The large mercenary groups can easily have tens of thousands of people. The top 3 mercenary groups have more than 50,000 people. They are entrenched in the mountains or in the small cities they occupy. Doesn't the emperor care about it? Lin Muyu asked. Care? Shi Tianming smiled. Of course they care. The Blackstone Empire is the weakest among the 3 empires in the Celestial Pole continent, and China is the weakest. This is because Emperor Shi Yuan doesn't care about the large mercenary groups, causing the common people to be unable to make a living and have no interest in farming. Everyone learns martial arts and hunts. However, once there is a war, everyone becomes a soldier. Shi Yuan also uses this kind of herding method to rule the country. As a result, although the Blackstone Empire is weak, it can still stand tall in the Celestial Pole continent. At this time, Si Kongyao also rode her horse over. She continued Shi Tianming's words and smiled. There is a saying that the unreasonable are afraid of the stupid, and the stupid are afraid of the reckless. The Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire are both unreasonable, but they are afraid of the reckless Blackstone Empire. Young Master Shi, tell me which mercenary group's territory is further ahead. Shi Tianming said, the strongest of the 3 great mercenary groups is the Pishio mercenary group. They occupy 3 counties and have gathered over 70,000 mercenaries. Even the provincial army is very wary of them. I think we should take a detour. We can't afford to offend the people from the Pishio mercenary group. Why can't we afford to offend them? Si Kongyao puffed out her chest angrily and looked at Lin Muyu with a smile, saying, do you have the guts to take a walk in the territory of the Pishio mercenary group? Doesn't matter. Lin Muyu spread out her hands. My life is worthless. I'm not afraid of those who don't want to live. Hee alright. Then let's keep walking forward and hunt some wild animals along the way. We haven't even gotten dinner yet. After walking for a short distance, they killed a few wild rabbits. There were quite a few divine-level experts in this group, so food would definitely not be a problem. Moreover, after so many days had passed, those assassins still hadn't appeared. They must have already given up. Therefore, everyone's vigilance had been lowered quite a bit. At night, they set up camp in the forest. The 2 beauties, Si Kongyao and Xianxia, seemed to have also started to enjoy this kind of leisurely life.